You know the opening notes: E D sharp, E D sharp, E B D C A. Everyone knows them, but nobody talks about the 24 hours that came before. April 27th, 1810, Vienna. A 40-year-old composer sitting at a borrowed piano, ears ringing, heart racing. One day until he puts ink to paper on a piece that will outlive him by 200 years. What happened in those final hours? What was running through his mind? And why does the truth matter more than the legend? He sits at his desk in the music room. Manuscripts everywhere. Sketches scattered across the floor. This isn't the apartment of a wealthy man. He's been moving constantly, driven out by landlords tired of him pounding the piano at all hours. Vienna tolerates genius, but it has limits. A fit of rage, he later said. Someone interrupted his work and he fell. Got up deaf. Or maybe it was the habit of dunking his head in cold water to stay awake. Or the lead in his wine. Or typhus. Nobody knows. What we do know is this. By 1801, he wrote to his friend Wegeler, saying his hearing had been getting worse for 3 years. In the theater, he had to sit close to the orchestra. High notes disappeared first. Voices became muffled. By 1810, he can still hear some speech, some music, but it's slipping away. By 1812, 2 years from now, most of it will be gone. Today, he's working on the incidental music for Goethe's Egmont. 9 pieces, an overture. He'd been commissioned at the end of 1809. The work fits his heroic style, the style that defined his middle period. This is the same year he's finishing the piano sonata opus 81A Les Adieux, written for Archduke Rudolph, who fled Vienna during Napoleon's bombardment in May 1809. The first movement, the farewell. The manuscript says it clearly. Vienna, May 4th, 1809, on the departure of His Imperial Highness. But here's the problem. Inflation. By August 1810, 4 months from now, those 4,000 florins will be worth only 890. By December 416, the Austrian government will declare bankruptcy in February 1811. The Banco-Zettel currency will be devalued to 1/5 its face value. Beethoven will spend years fighting his patrons in court to restore the original value in silver currency. But that battle hasn't started yet. Right now he's just watching his income evaporate. He carries a small notebook, always. 8 by 5 inches, small enough to fit in his pocket. When an idea hits, he stops, pulls out the notebook, jots it down in pencil. Later at home, he'll transcribe the serious work into a larger book in ink. This is how he's worked since 1798. Sketchbooks. Over 8,000 pages will survive him. They'll show everything, the false starts, the revisions. The hours spent on a single measure, 14 different drafts for one retransition in the Pastoral Symphony. He doesn't compose like Mozart, who could write directly into the final score with barely a scratch through. Beethoven builds, slowly, painfully, relentlessly, testing ideas without commitment. Second phase, composition sketches, expanded drafts of entire movements, multiple staves, contrapuntal elements, orchestration cues. The progression from fragment to whole shows organic growth. Even improvisations at the keyboard get documented. Everything gets written down, everything gets refined. The Kafka sketchbook from 1798 to 1803. The Landsberg Six from 1802 to 1804. The Eroica sketchbook. Over 200 folios tracing the Third Symphony's transformation from a Bonaparte tribute to a heroic ode after Napoleon declared himself emperor in 1804. The disillusionment was total. Beethoven tore the title page in half. This work is now composed to celebrate the memory of a great man. Not Bonaparte, just a great man. These walks aren't just exercise, they're incubation time. Separation from the desk, different stimuli. The mind processes differently when the body moves. Ideas that seemed stuck at the piano flow freely in the woods. Beethoven discovered this early. He structured his entire day around it. 8 hours of focused work, then release, then return. The pattern repeats, the consistency matters. His student Carl Czerny said Beethoven could still hear speech and music normally until about 1812. That's 2 years from now. The decline is gradual but accelerating. Every walk in these woods is a walk towards silence. Every birdsong he hears might be the last time. Every rustle of leaves, every distant conversation from other walkers. The sounds are slipping away. He knows it, can't stop it, can only work faster, compose more. Get it all down before the silence becomes complete. Her cousin is Johann Baptist Malfatti, a famous physician who treats Beethoven for his many ailments. Beethoven started giving Therese piano lessons sometime in 1809. By 1810, he's infatuated. She's young, talented, from a good family. He's 40, deaf, temperamental, socially awkward. He thinks she admires him. He mistakes admiration for love. Known to friends as Elise, 17 years old in 1810, a soprano. She sang Leonore in the 1806 revival of his opera Fidelio. Her brother Joseph August Ruckel played Florestan. Beethoven met her in 1808. According to Klaus Martin Kopitz's research published in the Musical Times in winter 2020, based on his work in the archives, Elizabeth was called Elise by a parish priest. Her baptismal records at St. Stephen's Cathedral in Vienna from her first child's christening in 1814 list her as Maria Eva Elise. She's leaving Vienna soon. In April 1810, she's getting an engagement at the theater in Bamberg. She'll make her stage debut as Donna Anna in Don Giovanni. She'll become friends with E.T.A. Hoffmann, the writer. In 1811, she'll return to Vienna. In 1813, she'll marry Johann Nepomuk Hummel, Beethoven's friend and rival. Ludwig Noll saw it in 1865 when Babette Bradel let him copy it. Noll published it in 1867 in his book Neue Briefe Beethovens. The autograph disappeared. We only have Noll's transcription. The manuscript was in Thérèse Malfati's possession when she died in 1851. But if it was for Thérèse, why did he write Elise? Kopitz argues it was for Elizabeth Ruckel all along. The evidence, the date, April 27, 1810, right when Elizabeth was leaving for Bamberg. A parting gift. The piece found its way to Thérèse later, maybe through mutual connections. Maybe Beethoven recycled it. We don't know. Beethoven returns from his walk around 11, 3 hours in the woods, notebook full of fragments, ideas for the Egmont music, ideas for the bagatelle. He sits at the piano, not his own, he's borrowed it. In 1798, he received a piano from Sébastien Erard in Paris. Exceptional resonance. It may have influenced the Waldstein Sonata in 1804, but by 1810, he's written that it's simply not of any use anymore. He's abandoned it. He'll give it to his brother Johann in 1824. Right now, he's relying on loans from Viennese piano makers. He won't get the Broadwood piano from London until 1818. That piano, with its heavier action and louder sound, will help him compose the Hammerklavier Sonata, but that's 8 years away. Today, he makes do. The Viennese action is light, responsive, produces a clear bell-like tone. The English action is heavier, requires more force, produces a louder, murkier sound. Beethoven's tastes are changing. As his hearing fails, he needs volume, needs to feel the vibrations. Later, with the Broadwood, he'll attach a resonator to the soundboard, place a pencil in his mouth, touching the piano to feel the notes through bone conduction. Place his ear directly on the soundboard, anything to maintain connection with the sound. But the technology isn't there yet, not in 1810. The pianos he borrows are adequate but temporary. He moves apartments constantly. Landlords get tired of the noise, the constant practicing, the obsessive repetition of passages, the pounding at all hours. So he moves, finds another piano, another temporary solution. The instability is exhausting but unavoidable, based on what his failing ears can still perceive. The Broadwood in 1818 will be a revelation. 6 octaves. Mahogany case, tested by the finest pianists in London before shipping. Ferdinand Ries, his student, Friedrich Kalkbrenner, Johann Baptist Kramer, Muzio Clementi. They all signed it. Above the keys, a Latin inscription. This instrument is a gift by Thomas Broadwood of London for the illustrious Beethoven. It will travel by ship to Trieste, then overland through the Alps to Vienna, 7 months of journey. When it arrives in May 1818, Beethoven will write to Broadwood. I shall look upon it as an altar upon which I shall place the most beautiful offerings of my spirit to the divine Apollo. That's the future. Today, April 1810, he sits at a borrowed Viennese piano whose owner he'll forget. Works out the ideas from the notebook. The bagatelle is taking shape. 5-part rondo, a B, A, C, A, a minor, 3/8 time. The main theme is simple, haunting. It alternates between E and D sharp in the right hand. The left hand provides arpeggiated accompaniment, poco moto, a little motion. It's a marking that appears nowhere else in Beethoven's works. Strange, unique. The piece is accessible but not simplistic. The first section is easy enough for an intermediate student. The middle sections require more skill. Virtuosic passages, quick runs. The tempo has to be chosen carefully. Too slow and it drags. Too fast and the difficult parts become unmanageable. He needs rest. He eats. Then he heads out again. Another walk. This one longer. He stops at a tavern, reads the daily newspapers. The political situation is tense. Napoleon's forces occupied Vienna last year in May 1809. Beethoven took refuge in his brother Kaspar's cellar during the bombardment. The French are still a presence. The Austrian economy is collapsing. The war has disrupted cultural life, disrupted his publishers, disrupted everything. He supposedly wrote Für Elise in almost illegible handwriting across the bagatelle manuscript. She asked for an inscription. He gave it to her. Another version says he wrote a letter to her in April or May 1810. Now fare you well, respected Thérèse. I wish you all the good and beautiful things of this life. Bear me in memory. No one can wish you a brighter, happier life than I, even should it be that you care not at all for your devoted servant and friend Beethoven. Not exactly a love letter, more like a farewell. She turned him down, or she strung him along and then turned him down. Either way, she married Wilhelm von Drostick in 1816. Beethoven hid in his brother Caspar's cellar. The sound of cannons was unbearable even to his damaged ears. The French occupied the city. Cultural life disrupted, publishers disrupted, everything disrupted. The occupation ended, but the effects linger. The economy is collapsing. Inflation is out of control. The government will declare bankruptcy next year in February 1811. The finance patent will devalue all currency to 1/5 its value. Savings wiped out overnight. Beethoven's annuity contract worth 4,000 florins will suddenly be worth 800. Less than that by year's end. The patrons will fight him in court. Prince Kinsky will die in a riding accident in 1812 before his portion is resolved. Prince Lobkowitz will go bankrupt. Only Archduke Rudolf will pay consistently. But Vienna still has its coffee houses, its salons, its concerts. The aristocracy still gathers. The Esterhazy family, the Lichnowsky family, the Lobkowitz family. These are Beethoven's patrons, his students, his audience. He moves among them, but never belongs. Too bourgeois for nobility, too famous to be ignored, too difficult to be loved. His friend Ignaz von Gleichenstein married Teresa's younger sister Anna in May 1811. That's next year. The wedding will happen in Netzdorf am Kamp. Beethoven won't be invited, or he'll be invited and won't go. Either way, he'll be absent. That's the pattern. Connection followed by distance. Intimacy followed by exile. He can't sustain relationships, can't compromise, can't adjust his behavior to social requirements. He's rude, blunt, temperamental. People tolerate him because he's Beethoven, but they don't embrace him. If you value documented Beethoven history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from Klaus Martin Kopitz's study, published in the Musical Times, Winter 2020, and the Beethoven House archives in Bonn, including the annuity contract documentation from March 1st, 1809. These aren't generic sources. They're deep archival material, the kind that shows Beethoven's financial desperation, his romantic failures, his daily struggles. This is what happened. Now back to the information. He's twice her age, losing his hearing, financially unstable. No woman of her status would choose him. He knows this. He's lived this. Giulietta Guicciardi, the 17-year-old countess. He dedicated the Moonlight Sonata to her in 1801. She married Count Gallenberg in 1803. Josephine von Brunswick. He proposed. She said no, or maybe yes, then no. Social class, always social class. Musicians don't marry nobility. The status gap is too wide. Beethoven sees himself as higher than counts and princes. His genius elevates him, but society disagrees. Society keeps slapping him down. That's when he'll write the fair copy, the clean version, the one he'll title and date, for Elise, or for Therese, or for both, or for neither, for himself. A small piece, a trifle, something to mark this moment, this feeling, this loss. Over 400 of these books will survive. They'll show his daily life, his arguments with his nephew Carl, his business dealings, his paranoia about money. But in 1810, he can still have conversations. He can still hear voices faintly. The ringing never stops, though. Tinnitus, day and night. His ears buzz and hum constantly. He wrote that to Wegler in 1800. I'm feeling stronger and better, except that my ears sing and buzz constantly day and night. Loud sounds are unbearable. Quiet sounds disappear. He's trapped in between. The ringing in his left ear decreased slightly. Maybe. The hearing didn't improve. By 1802, Beethoven gave up on Währing. Saw Dr. Schmidt instead. He tried almond oil in the ears, lukewarm baths, different medicines. Nothing worked. Nothing slowed the progression. By 1802, the despair was so deep that Beethoven wrote the Heiligenstadt Testament, a letter to his brothers, thoughts of suicide. Resolution to keep living through art. He sealed it, put it away. It wasn't discovered until after his death in 1827. 25 years of carrying that darkness. He just suffers, eats carefully, sticks to familiar foods, same restaurants, same dishes, control where he can find it. His diet is formulaic, the coffee every morning, specific meals at specific times, dinner at 3 p.m., late night soup, a glass of beer, a pipe of tobacco. The routine keeps the chaos manageable. Without it, he'd spiral. With it, he functions. Barely, painfully, but he functions. Late at night, the neighbors are asleep. He plays softly, tests the melody. E D sharp, E D sharp, E B D C A. It works. It's memorable. Simple enough to stick in your head. complex enough to be interesting. He makes mental notes. The B section will be in F major, brighter, more optimistic. Then back to A minor for the return. The C section will be more turbulent, passionate, rising arpeggios. Then the final return to the main theme. The structure is clear now. He'll write it tomorrow. He'll consider adding it to a cycle of bagatelles. 11 bagatelles, opus 119. But he won't publish the 1810 version, won't publish the 1822 version. Both will sit in his drawer until after his death. Why? Maybe he's never satisfied. Maybe the piece is too personal. Maybe it reminds him of failure, of women who said no, of a younger, healthier version of himself. April 27th has begun. Beethoven goes to bed, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's his sleep schedule. 8 hours, consistent, necessary. His body is breaking down. Abdominal problems, diarrhea, digestive issues. He's had them since age 25. He links them to his hearing loss. The chief cause of this infirmity proceeds from the state of my digestive organs, he wrote. Modern analysis of his hair and bone fragments shows high levels of lead. Lead plates were common. Wine contained lead acetate as a preservative and sweetener. Fish from the Danube had arsenic and mercury. He's been poisoning himself for years without knowing it. The autopsy in 1827 will show liver damage, cirrhosis, alcoholic liver disease, a life of pain managed with wine. Or his genius is rewarded with love, with financial security, with peace, a world that doesn't exist. His handwriting is messy. Always has been. The R in Für looks like it could be an H. The T in Therese, if that's what it says, looks like an E. Or maybe it really is an E for Elise. We'll never know. The original is lost. He's done this so many times in his sketches that the fair copy comes easily. 93 bars in the original version. The A sections, the B section in F major, back to A. The C section with its rising passion. Final return, poco moto throughout. 3/8 time. A minor resolving to A major at moments before returning to minor. The emotional arc is clear. Nostalgia, longing, hope, resignation. The piece is small, a bagatelle. Not a symphony, not a sonata, just a short piano piece. He finishes, looks at it, sets it aside, goes back to work on Egmont. The bagatelle isn't important. Not to him, not now. It's a gift, a memory, a gesture. He'll probably give it to Elizabeth before she leaves, or to Therese as a consolation, or he'll keep it, tuck it away. Forget about it for 12 years until he tries to revise it in 1822. Then forget it again. He doesn't know it will be played at recitals, in commercials, in movies, in video games, in every corner of the globe. He doesn't know that more people will recognize those opening notes than will recognize his Fifth Symphony. Da-da-da-dum is famous. E-D sharp, E-D sharp, E is iconic. Elise Bairnsfeld, a 13-year-old prodigy suggested by Canadian musicologist Rita Steblin in 2014. The theories multiply. The evidence stays thin. The autograph is gone. Only Knoll's 1867 transcription remains, and even that might have errors. Luca Chiantore, in his 2010 book Beethoven al Piano, questions whether Knoll's version is accurate. He suggests it might contain inaccuracies, or even be a fabrication. But no autograph has surfaced to prove or disprove anything. In 1865, Bredel let Knoll copy the autograph. 2 years later, he published it. The piece exploded in popularity. By the late 1800s, every piano student wanted to learn it. By the early 1900s, it was a staple of the repertoire. By the 21st century, it was embedded in global consciousness. The rest of 1810 was rough. The annuity payments kept losing value, the Austrian economy kept collapsing, his hearing kept deteriorating. In 1811, he became seriously ill, headaches, high fever. His doctor, Johann Malfatti, Therese's cousin, recommended the spa at Teplitz. He went, took the cure, survived, kept composing, the Seventh Symphony, the Eighth. The years blurred together. By 1812, he could barely hear conversational speech. By 1818, conversation books became necessary. By 1824, at the premiere of the Ninth Symphony, he couldn't hear the applause. Someone had to turn him around to see the audience. Countless bagatelles, variations, chamber pieces, over 600 works catalogued. But of all of them, Für Elise is the one that everyone knows. Not the Ninth Symphony, even though it's grander, not the Moonlight Sonata, even though it's more romantic. Für Elise, the trifle, the afterthought, the piece he wrote in one day and never published. The first section is playable by anyone with a few years of lessons. It sounds impressive, but isn't technically demanding. Maybe because it's emotionally direct, no hidden complexity, just longing, pure and simple. Maybe because the mystery adds to the appeal. Who was Elise? Why did he write it? The questions draw people in, or maybe it's just the melody. E-D sharp, E-D sharp, E-B-D-C-A. 8 notes that form a pattern so perfect, so inevitable, that once you hear it, you can't unhear it. In 1888, they moved him to the Zentralfriedhof, the central cemetery, where he rests today next to Schubert and Brahms. The piano that Beethoven used to compose the Hammerklavier Sonata. The piano he pounded so hard that by 1824 it was unplayable. The piano that helped him hear through vibration when sound was gone. Like so much of Beethoven's daily life that we can only reconstruct from letters, from sketches, from secondhand accounts. Someone who mattered enough to write for, but not enough to keep the piece. He filed it away, forgot it, revised it 12 years later, forgot it again, died without publishing it. The piece found its way into the world anyway, 40 years late, through a chain of inheritance and chance, through Noel's transcription of a lost manuscript, through the accidents of history, in commercials for luxury cars and insurance companies, in hold music and ringtones, in the background of films set in Vienna or about composers or just needing something classical and recognizable. It's been arranged for orchestra, for guitar, for synthesizer, for music box. It's been sampled in electronic music. It's been played by 4-year-old prodigies on YouTube. It's been murdered by beginning students on out-of-tune uprights in practice rooms worldwide. It's been analyzed, deconstructed, reimagined, and through it all, the question remains, who was Elise? She visited him on his deathbed in 1827. Twice that week. He gave her a lock of his hair and his last quill. She kept them until she died. That's love, or something close to it. Max Unger says, Therese Malfatti. The manuscript was in her possession. Beethoven proposed to her. Noel misread the handwriting. It's a simple explanation. Rita Steblin says, Elise Behrensfeld, a 13-year-old prodigy. A favor to Therese Malfatti, who might have been teaching her piano. Beethoven did things like that, wrote easy pieces for young students, dedicated them as gifts. 93 bars of melody and accompaniment. Simple, beautiful, haunting. By the early 1900s, it was as much a part of piano education as scales and arpeggios. By the mid-1900s, it was a cultural touchstone. By the late 1900s, it was a cliché. By the 21st century, it was simultaneously beloved and overplayed. The piece every pianist knows, but also the piece every pianist is tired of hearing. If you strip away the familiarity, if you hear it fresh, it still works. The opening is still striking. E, D sharp, E, D sharp, E. The repetition creates tension. You expect resolution, but it delays. Then B, D, C, A. The line descends. The pattern completes. The left hand enters with the arpeggio. The texture fills out. The melody repeats with variation. The B section shifts to F major. The mood lightens, a moment of hope. Then back to A minor. The darkness returns. The C section builds, rising lines, increasing passion. The hands work together. The virtuosity increases. Then the final return. The main theme again, but colored now by everything that came before. The nostalgia is deeper, the longing more acute. The piece ends quietly, a minor chord, no grand conclusion, just a soft fade, a memory drifting away. For Elise, zur Erinnerung, in memory, the German word is clear. This is a memorial, not a love song, not a celebration, a memorial for something that's already over, for someone who's already gone, or going. The piece is a goodbye. That's why it works. That's why it endures. Everyone has said goodbye. Everyone has lost something. Everyone understands nostalgia and longing and the bittersweet ache of memory. Beethoven tapped into something universal. He did it in 93 bars. He did it on April 27th, 1810. He did it and then put it away and forgot about it. By 1900, it was in every piano anthology. By 1920, it was being recorded. Early recordings on wax cylinders, then on vinyl. By 1950, it was on the radio. By 1980, it was in films. By 2000, it was a ringtone. By 2020, it was a meme. It will outlive the people learning it right now on pianos in Beijing and São Paulo and Lagos and Toronto. It will outlive the technology we use to play it. Vinyl gave way to cassettes, gave way to CDs, gave way to MP3s, gave way to streaming. The format changes. The piece remains. E, D sharp, E, D sharp, E, B, D, C, A. 8 notes in a pattern Beethoven wrote in one day, April 27th, 1810. We don't even know if we're playing it right. Noel's transcription has questionable moments. Bar 7, second note in the right hand. Is it E or D? The manuscripts show inconsistencies. Editors have debated this for decades. Some print E, some print D. Pianists choose based on preference. The same with tempo. Pocomoto is vague. How much motion? What speed? Performances range from plodding to frantic. Some take 2 minutes, some take 4. Beethoven left no metronome marking, no recording of him playing it, no definitive answer. This version was meant for the Bagatelles Opus 119, but never made it. Beethoven abandoned it, or forgot it, or decided it wasn't good enough. We have both versions. We don't know which one he preferred. We don't know which one is definitive. We play the 1810 version because that's what Knoll published. But maybe Beethoven wanted the 1822 version. Maybe he thought the original was flawed. We'll never know. What we do know is this. On April 26, 1810, Beethoven lived his normal routine. Coffee at dawn, work until 8, walk until 11, piano until 2, lunch, another walk, tavern, evening at home. He was thinking about a bagatelle, a small piece for someone leaving, someone he cared about. The next day, April 27th, he wrote it, titled it, dated it, set it aside. 40 years later, it surfaced. 57 years later, it was published. 143 years later, it was being played by millions. 215 years later, it's still going. His thought process made visible. 14 drafts of a single retransition, endless revisions, the relentless pursuit of perfection. That's how he worked on the big pieces, the symphonies, the sonatas, the quartets. No forced complexity. Just a simple idea, perfectly executed, E D sharp, E D sharp, E B D C A. The notes that defined April 27th, 1810. The notes that will outlive us all. And somewhere in that routine, a moment to write something small, something personal, something that would accidentally become immortal. For Elise, zur Erinnerung, in memory. April 27th, 1810. The day a trifle became timeless,